Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Oronsaye. Yesterday, the news broke that the president is indeed, given the okay to implement the 12-year-old report of the Oronsaye, popularly known as the Oronsaye report. Well, our guest this morning is Prince Kassim Afegbua, APC chieftain, policy analyst. A fine morning to you.
Thank you very much, Yori. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's been 12 years in the making. As of January last year, somebody from the presidency, as it then was, the presidency of President Buhari, had said that, well, when you look at the body language of the National Assembly and the proximity to the elections, it wouldn't be possible for it to be implemented at the time. But here we are. Now the president has said full implementation to proceed, full blast. 12 weeks committee led by the Secretary of the Government of the Federation to work it out. Your first reactions, Kassim?
Well, it is part of all the reforms that the president has been undertaking to set the country on the right path to growth and development. And don't forget that if you are looking for a courageous, bold president who has gotten gravitas and grit, I think President Tinubu is one. A document that was prepared as far back as 2012 is the one that has gotten the political will to implement, even if not all, at least is implementing it. Because whether you like it or not, you have to give him credit that he means well for the country. He's got political will to take decisions. He's bold, he's courageous, and he means well for the country. Things may not be rosy as we want to see them now, but they are not as a result of his inability to take decisions or to act. He inherited a lot of rots and decay, and to set the ball rolling, he needs to step on certain tools, take certain decisions, and consciously engage the populace. So indeed. I want to commend the fact that he's gotten the political will to implement the Oronsaye report. But in doing the implementation, Yori, we have to also be conscious of certain things that were possible in 2012 that are not possible now. Certain, decisions or suggestions or recommendations in 2012 that may not be fitting and proper at this time. So I think the SGF and a couple of its members of the committee have been given 12 weeks. And
yes,
I hope that they will
work it out.
They will be able to look at all of those issues and take the best out of that Oronsaye report.
Indeed. I tell you what, Kassim, give us one or two of that kind of instance that struck you that, look, back in the day, it might have been possible, but not anymore.
No, but you see, the point is the report talks about streamlining government towards running a lean government. I've looked at some of those parastatals and agencies, some to be subsumed, others to be managed. Essentially, you have to look at the existential threats that confront us now, the issues that dominate public discourse now and all of that, and look at agencies that will not create undue bureaucracy if they are subsumed within certain ministries or agencies or even departments of government. You see, it is easier to say we want to run a lean government. It's also easier for you to say you want to streamline, you want to subsume, you want to merge. But don't create too much of bureaucracy in that process, because decision-making process are better when it is less cumbersome in terms of reporting line, in terms of how and when, or how immediate you can snap your finger and the decisions are taken and all that. Because given the Nigerian nature, I think, aside from even managing all of these ministries, you need to reform the civil service. The civil service needs serious reform. Yeah, they need serious reform. Because a lot of our problem comes from sit-tight permanent secretaries who want to see every file that passes through their table. Some don't have a good relationship with their ministers. Some ministers want to walk. Their PAMSEC will be dragging them down. Right? So they say, we are the accounting officers, we are the boss and all that. You'll be shocked that money will come into ministry with respect to budget. A PAMSEC will sit down and award contracts without even the minister knowing. It's replete all over the place. I've seen cases, like that. I've seen complaints I've heard from my friends who are ministers, how some of their PAMSEC are sitting back and all that. So I don't want a situation where we will create too much of bureaucracy. Because once you create that, you give more powers to the PAMSEC, you give more power to the directors and what have you. It may slow down government business. It may slow down productivity. And that's why I would suggest that the president should also consider reforming the civil service. I was happy when he invited the PAMSECs last week to a meeting, to a discussion, and to set his own agenda with respect to what he wants to see in the civil service. I just hope they're able to implement it, because by the time you take a stock of what transpires in different ministries, parastatals and agencies, see how much money these people acquire to themselves, how much money they've taken from our public till, you will wonder. So there's so much to be done. There's so much to be done. For me, it's not even about running lean government. It's not about slimming down government. It's about devising means and ways to ensure that you are able to lock up leakages. Corruption is the bane of most of the things we do. And so if we are able to streamline and cover up leakages and ensure that it is difficult for people to just plunge their hands into public till, the better for the system. Not so much about running lean government.
I imagine that this is going to be followed with a certain change of our disposition to things. It won't be business as usual, which is, if it were, those are the kind of things that you have highlighted right now in what you've just finished saying. That it's not going to be business as usual. This is a new day. You even spoke about perhaps even reforms. But even before we get to that, you've spoken about some of the things that could be problematic. But then with the Secretary to the federal government in charge of the committee that has, that has 12 weeks to come up with how this can be implemented, the overall goal, among of which it has been said, is reducing the cost of governance. You've used the expression a leaner government, but we must watch out, is what you are counseling, that in going there, that we don't create other problems. But overall, it's a good thing, perhaps.
No, you can't take that away from President Tinubu. This is one president that doesn't care about whose horse is God when he wants to take decisions. You remember how he removed the subsidy. How people complained that why he should have settled down. He should have settled down before he removed subsidy and all that. President Tinubu has got courage to take decisions. Very painful decisions, but at the end of the day, they will yield positive results for the entirety of the country. And even recently, as a consequence of this subsidy removal, for example, you see the kind of federal allocation that is being shared among all the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. 1.1 trillion, 1.2 trillion. It is the first time in the history of Nigeria with respect to allocation. So there is so much geometric increase in terms of what comes to states now. States that were earning 8 billion naira monthly, they are now taking home about 20 billion, 25 billion, 27 billion, but they are not working with this money. So rather than people complaining about federal government not doing this, not doing it. They should actually interrogate state governors. They should interrogate state governors. I was just reading this morning that the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, was taking back his words when he told the governors that about 30 billion naira each has gone into state government in the different states, and they are not seeing the impact of that. This thing. Why is he taking back the word? That is the truth. A lot of money has gone into the coffers of state government, but nothing is happening across the states. If you travel around the state, you see it's just like an arrested development. So attention should be focused on local government, state government, and so that they can even simplify government policies and make governance closer to the people so that they can feel the impact. There's so much money they are sharing from federal allocation now. That should be a positive sign to cushion the impact of the subsidy removal, to cushion the... Some state governors are doing so well. Look at Zulum. Look at the number of vehicles he has procured and all of that. You don't get to hear protestations and all of that in Borno State. There are a few state governors are also doing well, but a larger chunk of the of the governors are not using this money, utilizing them to bring governance closer to the people. Local governments are in the hands of governors. It's like they say they operate joint account. Only last week I was reading somewhere when I saw how much accrues to local government. In Edo State, for example, my local government, they wrote 55 billion that they have collected in 2023. And I can tell you that local government did not even see 10 billion. That's the truth. So we need to begin to interrogate some of these things, get more and more citizen participation in the way and manner that governance is being run and service delivery is being delivered at the local level, at the state government level, so that there will be less concentration of attention at the federal level. And that's why you see this decision of Oronsaye report is a step in the right direction. But I will expect that Senator George Akume, the SGF, Secretary of the Government of the Federation, will have to look at those things that are actionable, those that are deliverables, those that can work within our system, within our bureaucracy and all of that, so that you don't just, it does not become an all-basket kind of scenario. They have to be selective, look at the pros and cons of everyone, because Oronsaye in 2012, the issues that stared him in the face when he was doing this report may have taken a different turn 12 years after. So they need to look at the suitability of this, the applicability of some of these things in terms of running a slim government. It is not about calling the name slim. I want to see it in practice. For example, if 109 senators are to be given vehicles, 109 senators to be given a Land Cruiser, for example, and these Land Cruisers are imported, you can imagine how much pressure that will bear on our naira, because you are going to buy it in dollars. Now, you can also imagine if we're 360 members of the House of Reps are going to be given vehicles, and these vehicles are all imported. These are some of the things that are, consuming, our resources, because we are going to be buying dollars. The craze for dollars will now be heightened and all of that. So we need to take deliberate and conscious steps to ensure that steps that are being taken are steps that are practical in nature. We can see them, we can feel them. If you have ministers, if you have 48 ministers, if the vehicles you have bought for them are 3 vehicles because of the must work and all of that, you can reduce it to 1 and see this period as a gestation period or trying something new in terms of how we contend with public funds. Management of public funds, what the public funds is meant to achieve, what is being spent on, and how we're able to carry a larger population of Nigerians along in terms of policy implementation. Because we need to give concrete explanation, we need to tell the people this is what we're doing and all of that. That's why when I saw that driving here to your studio, I saw that everybody bubbling. Nobody knows whether NLC is on strike or not. It goes to show that Nigerians believe in this government. They believe in the steps the government is taking to ensure that they address some of these fundamental issues, so that, because it's not about strike, it is not strike that will bring about development. Strike will rather slow us down. So we need to look at the bigger picture. Where do we go from here? This is what is confronting us as a country. How do we move from the stage we are now to a better stage so that life becomes easier for the ordinary folks out there? So it is not about trying to tie down government, try to frustrate government because you feel that you must go on strike. Strike are vestiges of military dictatorship. Those days when military don't listen to you, they don't care about what happens, that is when strike becomes an option. But in a democracy where there is room for constructive engagement and collective bargaining, where the government is willing to talk at all times, there is invitation today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. They are inviting labor leaders for them to discuss. Even if they don't agree on the terms, there's still room for further discussion and further dialogue. That is a democracy. That is better than just using strike, sending warning. We are warning strike and all that. I was happy when the TUC pulled out of it in the larger interest of the country, because the less strike we embark on, the better for our polity and the better for our democracy.
Indeed. And I suppose the ordinary, this is really for the smoother running of governance on behalf of the lowliest person in our society. It's all about the people. And when some of those people look at some of these ideas, I was just looking, it would seem logical to them. You might not be a technocrat, but it would seem logical that, for instance, the National Salaries, Income and Wage Commission is to be subsumed under the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, although that would require an amendment by the National Assembly. You then look again at something like, just for example, Border Community Development Agency to become a department under the National Boundary Commission. A lot of those things seem to make common sense. That why were these things separated before? Well, it was what it was. We're not looking back, we're looking forward. And President Tinubu, as you know, he doesn't want to be looking backwards. He's looking forward. He said before, don't feel sorry for me. And in this connection, I was just wondering that, look, I started off by saying that this could have been implemented way back, but it wasn't. And even when the Buhari administration was to look at it, there were reasons given as to why it might not have been the best of times to implement it. One can't but sometimes feel that, look, some of these things that President Tinubu is now having to confront, not excluding the removal of fuel subsidy, if only they had been grappled and if they had dealt with those things back in 8, 7, maybe even 6 years ago, the country would have been in a better place now. But Tinubu has said, don't feel sorry for me, and he's a bold decision taker, and it doesn't matter what people feel now. I think the next step is for the information team of government to go out there and explain it to people. I believe that's where everybody will come along.
You see, I said earlier that you need to look at the trajectory of President Tinubu. It's a product of struggle. He is a renowned pro-democracy activist. When we talk about strike and protest and all of that, those were his articles of trade. He was going around, on the streets protesting against military dictatorship. He was in the forefront of the fight to send the military back to the barracks to give birth to this democracy today. So he's very conversant with the issues. That's why I tell people that rather than NLC, oftentimes trying to go on strike, you don't have to go on strike, when a man who is a product of struggle and strike and protest is at the saddle. The man understands the issues you are talking about. He knows what you are talking about. He's attending to those issues. If he's not attending to them, it's a different ballgame. But he's attending to them to the best of his ability. He's reaching out, he's engaging, because governance is all about, it's a two-way traffic. On the government side, this is what we have. On the other side, this is what you have. Then you sit on a round table to judge, you discuss, you weigh the options and all of that, because we need to build national cohesion. We need to build solidarity across board. And you have a president who understands these dynamics and is attending to them to the best of his ability. I haven't seen a situation where the NLC said there's breakdown in communication or government is unwilling to engage with them. It hasn't come to that. That is a good ingredient for deepening our democracy, for deepening conversation around governance. Because whether you like it or not, when you have a president who understands that protest is injurious to our economy, he will try as much as possible to do that within his power to ensure that the protest does not take place. But, but when you have an NLC that is becoming too much fashionable about strike, they want to go on strike at every time. They don't even oftentimes even consider the implication. The last strike they went, people died in the hospital because nobody could attend to them. Some other persons couldn't even get means of a livelihood because they couldn't even move from one place to the other and all of that. So you have to look at the consequences of strike and minimize the incidences of going on strike at all times by just little provocation, or even no provocation at all. You have a president who is taking the bull by the horn. He has strong political will. This report of Oronsaye has been lying on the table for 12 good years. For God's sake, he's saying that, okay, I want to implement this one now, set up a small committee to look at it and all of that. That's why I said whether the committee, given 12 weeks, will have to sit back and look at those implementable suggestions and recommendations. If there are others that are requiring amendment to the existing act or the constitution of the country and other things, they will need to be given some time so that becomes effective by intervention of the National Assembly. So you have to ensure that you don't do anything that is illegal. You have to ensure that you follow the provisions of the law. You apply the provisions of the Constitution or other enabling acts and statutes, so that when in the final analysis you are able to, bring all of this together. And even the man who wrote the report is still very much alive. I saw him last week. So you can invite him to also shed light in some aspect that you are not too clear about, so that it is all for the good. It is all for the good of the country. How to deepen conversation around governance, how to enhance our growth and development, how to run a slim government and all that. But like I said, it's not just about running slim government. Don't create unnecessary bureaucracy. Don't create too much of a big manism, which is a craze in our pantheon here. People want to look at, want to say, oh, I've been given more powers. I'm now controlling like 6 parastatals and agencies under me. You see the man wielding unnecessary powers and all of that. Because what breeds corruption is the presence of monopoly of powers. That's why they define corruption as monopoly plus discretion minus accountability. Because it is the monopoly of that power of presiding over several parastatals and departments that will impart negatively on your discretionary powers. And when you use your discretion in a way that is self-serving, you end up not rendering account to those who actually, sent you on that errand ab initio. So, like I said, we need a reformed civil service. I will continue to drum this loud and clear, even to the committee, so that they don't create unnecessary ombudsman in the way and manner they are going to subsume or merge some of these parastatals and agencies with ministries. And like I told you, the PAMSEX must be in tune with the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President, so that these incidences of corruption, dipping hands into public till, you see PAMSEC retiring, you see them with so much money and so much resources, and they keep complaining that they don't have money. Meanwhile, they have so much. You have seen them with properties everywhere. You see them with doing things that are beyond their statutory salaries and all of that. So there's so much to be done. But once the federal government set the tune, I expect this to also percolate down to the state government level and even local government level. There has to be a synergy, between and amongst all these tiers of government, so that we are able to deliver governance to the people. The overriding interest of all of these initiatives, all of these suggestions and recommendations is for life to be better for the average Nigerian. And so if it is going to deepen service delivery, it's going to enhance service delivery to the people, so be it. But where it's going to create unnecessary bottlenecks such that there will be unhealthy rivalries within the status of the individuals who eman all of these departments under somebody, then you have to play down on a bit of it. Because what is most dangerous is for people to just sit down and play the role of saboteurs in the system. And when they play that role, economic predictors and buccaneers will have a way of pillaging our collective till. So we must take into consideration some of these things. And don't forget, as we are now, people are going to start lobbying. Ministers will lobby, FAMSEX will lobby, the head of departments will lobby to ensure that some of these things that are going to be subsumed and this thing is done in such a way that it will favor them. But just like power, one way in, another way out. They will never know as soon as they acquire those powers.
All right. Tell you what, Kassim, we'll take a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation and take calls from whichever of our viewers wants to call in. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back.
Lagos is the most visited state in Africa as the fifth largest economy on the continent. Covering the state and its government is no mean feat. It's a busy beat. We go beyond the curtain of tapes to traveling far into the deep.
I want to thank the Lagos state government for the healthcare facility.
To bring stories that cut across all spectrums.
A greater Lagos shall be ours.
We tell you stories that define our collective well-being as Lagosians. I'm Adedoja Salamadi. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
TVC News Weekend Lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint with Precious Amayo. Newsweek with Mark Abo and Jacinta Ugochukwu. Politics on Sunday with Femi Akonde. Community Forum with Sarah Ayeku. Get ready for the biggest stories, fresh perspectives, and burning news discussions that round up the weekend. Only on TVC News.
First with breaking news. Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Okay, welcome back. And if you've just joined us, our guest is Prince Kassim Afegbua, APC chieftain and policy analyst. We're looking at the Steve Oronsaye report that President Tinubu has determined and decided to implement in full. In fact, some headlines say the Federal Executive Council okays full implementation 12 years after. But having been speaking with Prince Kassim Afegbua, he's been saying, yeah, be that as it may, but they still will have to look at it. After all, it's been 12 years in the making that is coming to the public light. It's been kicking around on tables, in drawers, all this while. And so there will be things that need to be sorted out. But I think it's important to know that the president has said full implementation. In other words, he couldn't be more transparent than that. Now, let this committee determine what is practicable now and how we shall be going about that. And Kassim Afegbua has spent a lot of time on that, giving examples of some of the things that might be different today from back then. The other thing that is quite important is that I think it's been said that this is not to be seen as some impending mass retrenchment of workers, people, you know, the unemployment market being swollen. No. It's none of that. Apparently, this is another thing that is going to have to be worked out. I think people might be, you know, redeployed or that kind of a thing. So it's like this is going to be, there will be an aim, Kassim, to really do this with as little disruptive damage, collateral damage as possible, especially in terms of the labor market.
Well, part of the reason why government set aside 12 weeks to look at this has to do with some of these issues or this concern you have raised. We need to also look at that aspect so that it doesn't disrupt the system. The SGF committee that is given three months to work will also have to consider this aspect. It may end up that you'll be needing more hands in some areas, and some areas you may not be needing some hands. Maybe you tell them to go. But there will be a rationale for any decision that will be taken in this respect. I'm sure that the Oronsaye report will have taken into cognizance this aspect that you have just raised, this concern you have just raised, when they were coming up with their recommendation. But when you want to run a lean government, a slim government, it means few people running the business of government, so that the money that is available can be judiciously utilized to cater for, you know, different aspects of our national life. But in doing that, just like you said, there are people who have sat in positions, one position for 8 years, 9 years, no promotion. They enjoy it. There are clerks in offices that are casual staff, that are even stronger than permanent staff and all of that. There are so many issues in the civil service that you are going to look into. So what I expect that committee to do is to interrogate some of these nuances and ensure that they are able to come up with what is workable, what is implementable, and what is suitable at this time, bearing in mind that in 2012, maybe perhaps when the committee report was ready, maybe the population of civil service is 1 million. Today, maybe 12 years later, maybe the population is 1.5 million. So you have to look at the viability of the suggestion that Oronsaye made in 2012 with the exigency of the moment, you know, and all that. But one thing that you cannot take away is that you have a president who is ready to take a very bold decision that to, you know, facilitate governance, that to deepen governance and make service delivery much more easier for the overwhelming majority of Nigerians. And after doing this, I expect the president to also take a step further. There is a document on restructuring, chairman by Malam El-Rufai, you know, when he was governor of Kaduna. The APC, as it were then, set up a committee to look at that particular issue and come out with workable solutions or implementable solutions to some of the issues that are nagging, you know, our federalism, issue of fiscal federalism and what have you, the relationship between the federal and the state and the local government, and so many other issues. So,
okay, one moment.
That document has been gathering dust in the villa because it was submitted to President Buhari.
Okay, could I break in a bit there? I beg your pardon, Kassim. Sorry, Kassim. Could I break in a bit there because Ada in Jos has come on the line and wants to join the program. Good morning, Ada.
Hello, good morning, Yuri and Kassim. It's Ada calling from Jos State. Yes, some of the agencies or ministries were created or are even being created now for political reasons. I commend President Tinubu for taking another bold decision to implement the Oronsaye report after 12 years. I've always been an advocate of the implementation of that report right from day one. Unfortunately, it has taken 12 years for it to see the light of the day. The interesting part of it is that they said there are promises of no job losses. Having said that, the corruption is a bane to our development. So we have to keep on fighting corruption. Another problem is to address our faulty structure. We have to practice fiscal federalism, otherwise known as restructuring, if we are to experience any form of economic growth. Above all, government should create an enabling environment for jobs to be created by the private sector. The public sector cannot create jobs for the overwhelming and teeming unemployed youth. Again, the President Tinubu should look at the bloated cabinet. I still insist. Let him, he has awarded them enough. The Minister of State, we don't need them. It's even unconstitutional. One of them told us that it's unconstitutional, one of the substantive ministers now, after serving as a Minister of State. He said it's unconstitutional, so let them look at it again and then do away with them after 1 year. I mean, there are permanent secretaries there to work with the Ministers of State. You know, all the same, let's hold you up in Nigeria.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Ada. There was an aspect in what Ada was saying there about perhaps charity starting at home. Might the president want to look at also, pruning down his entire cabinet himself along the lines that Ada suggested?
Well, I'm not in the mind of the president, but he may be thinking in that direction. Don't forget that the issue of ministers and the appointment is, captured in the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended. And so if there is no provision for Minister of State, you may just do away with that with time. But at least he needed all of these guys to help him stabilize. Maybe after 1 year, he will look at this kind of suggestion or recommendation, and if he finds it worthy to be so considered, he will not hesitate, because given his nature, he wants results, he wants to leave, remarkable landmarks in the sense of time. And if there's anyone who has courage and boldness, I think President Tinubu is.
George in Ikeja, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yore.
Thank you for
Good morning to Mr. Afegbua.
Yeah.
Uncle Yore, let me better thank Mr. Afegbua for the maturity he displayed during the APC primary. I believe he has what it takes.
Thank you very much.
Governor. Age is still on his side, and I know he will be governor of that state one day. Mr. Afegbua, please don't mind those politicians in labor clothing. What they are trying to do is to bring down the government because they could not win elections. But that is not the way. All they did before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections didn't work. This one, too, we also fail. Uncle Yori, I saw the list of the agencies. The mergers and acquisitions, you're here and there. Many are in order, but I'm concerned with one. The one that concerns Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
Okay, that's now being subsumed under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
External Affairs, Foreign Affairs. That commission has been doing the work of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, actually. The Nigerians abroad, the way the head of that commission has been relating with them, there are several times Nigerians have stranded outside the country. That woman is the one we see. We don't even know whether we have a
Honorable Abike Dabiri.
Very well. So, in my view, if that commission should be merged with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, then that woman, Abike Dabiri, should be the minister. Good morning.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Okay, Kassim. Well, the man just stepped in. He just stepped into the president's chair there.
Thank you.
I made it.
Thank you, Mr. George. Thank you, Mr. George. You see, the point is, institutions are built not because of individuals, but because whether the individual is there or not, there is someone who will manage any of those institutions. So the institution was not created because of Abike Dabiri, even though she has done a marvelous job. If, for example, tomorrow they decide not to appoint her, what will you say? So I think we need to commend her for standing tall to start a commission from the scratch and has not taken it into a national recognition. Because if you discuss with diaspora and those in the diaspora, what they relate with is essentially that NIDCOM. And so now that it's going under the Foreign Affairs Ministry, it will also save us some kind of role conflict. Because before now there has been issues of role conflict, but the last minister for Foreign Affairs was not up and doing. I think maybe the portfolio was bigger than him, or he doesn't understand what he should do in that foreign ministry. A very cerebral man who is well-read, but he doesn't understand the nuances of foreign policies and all of this. So rather than come up to take charge of the responsibility vested in him, he allowed a more active, vibrant Abike Dabiri to take the shine of that sector. And so I think NIDCOM will go to be under the Foreign Affairs so that there will be unanimity of purpose and intention in, charting the roadmap for our foreign policy, whether it's Afrocentric or otherwise.
Okay, then. Let me bring in Chidi now in Kafanchan. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
Good morning, Mr. Kassim Afegbua.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
The President Tinubu's administration's decision to implement Steve Oronsaye's report 12 years after is indeed commendable. But I would advocate the fact that it should be done with a human face in such a way that it is not going to be another clog in the wheel of our progress. And at the same time, it is going to reduce the bureaucracy sometimes in some of our ministries, departments, and agencies of government. If this is properly implemented, I want to strongly believe that it is going to create a healthy environment for the government and the people of Nigeria, and at the same time make governance very, very cheap, because there is indeed a high cost in the governance of this country. Thank you very much, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For calling in. Okay, that's a nice one. Well, the one thing that is clear here, and I think it has been clear to a lot of people from the very beginning, is that Tinubu is going to take whatever it takes to, see the success of his ideas. I'm reminded, here we are talking about this, Chidi's, admonition is well taken. The other day, the news broke that the president had drafted in the private sector captains of industry into a sort of economic advisory team. Everybody that is concerned here. So it's like, I think he always said this, that, look, it's not about, we don't have all the answers, and we are a listening people. We want to hear. Come, let's jaw together. Let's find out what the problems are, and let's jointly look for solutions to these problems. I believe most people will find that commendable, because he's like going off the beaten track.
Yes, the president is very conversant with what is happening in the country. And don't forget also that the relationship between the public and private sector is that of symbiotic one. It's a mutual relationship. Government creates the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Government has no business in business, and government own is to provide security, to provide infrastructure that will help the private sector and entrepreneurs to also translate their initiatives to practice for the good of the society. And so in engaging with them is trying to create a synergy between government and the private sector and robustly engage the issues so that in the final analysis, whatever decisions are going to be taken will not have telling impact on the private sector as well as what the ones that government are concerned with. I think economic solutions all over the world, and I keep saying this, it's all a function of trial and error. If you lock up 10 economists in a room to come up with solutions to an economic problem, they are going to give you 10 different ideas. Some of them would think that, you need to invest so much in infrastructure, that way you can take away people from the street and get them to work. Others will say, no, you need to create jobs and all of that. But how do you create jobs? So there are different approaches to finding economic solutions to problems. And when you try one and it's not fitting to the type of economic problem you have, you try another. And so that is why you see the government has to tinker with this. First and foremost, floating the naira. From floating the naira now, they are talking about recapitalizing the bureau de change and all of that. 2 billion first year, 500 million, then 250 million of that. So these are all initiatives that are products of those who are thinking for government, those who are thinking that if we do this, this can work. If you implement and you are not getting the desired result, you think about it again. That's how society.
Okay, let me bring in Mazi Okoroafo.
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Kassim. Mazi Okoroafo in Arochukwu has been waiting for a while. Good morning to you, Mazi.
Yeah, good morning, sir. You see, the issue we are facing today is that during the President Jonathan regime, what happened? Confab came to spend a lot of billions, millions upon millions. Now, what we are supposed to do now is thank God for the president for that Oronsaye report. So you know, it's very, very disheartening. In a country like ours, you see a signboard, federal agency, institute, they start waiting. You go there, you only see lizards and grasses inside the compound. At the end of the day, some people will be collecting salary, doing nothing. You start asking yourself, does it mean the authority concerned about all these moribund agencies? So the earlier we implement that Oronsaye report, the better for us. Sure, there are agencies in Nigeria, match of better is 10 or 10, match all of them together. What do the people talk about the staff? Yes, the staff that are qualified in each department, you send them to that department to work them. Then those of them that are not qualified, you send them to, there are many of them in the strategy that are supposed to be in agriculture, but they are not there. And that is why every people started complaining that no food, no license. But there are people that have been employed in all these agencies, but the agencies are not doing nothing. So the matter of all these agencies, the area the federal government implemented, the better for us to not only to save costs, so that we come and look at Ajakuta steel industry. Sayuri, the junior Ajakuta industry is ready to produce anything we use to build other industries in this country, to build any factory in this country, even our houses, no matter how type of the sense where you want to build. But what is happening there? All this, does it make that? But when go there, start asking yourself, what is happening? We have all it takes to move this country forward. You sure that we don't.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. We're fast running out of time, but, finally, you've spoken about labor, and, the attitude you would like to see from labor, not to unnecessarily complicate the whole environment. You also find that there are some, national leaders, some senior citizens, at least going by what I see on social media, who have been advising people, known centers of wanting to cause, problems. That is the way the ruling party might see it. But they admonishing them not to come out and protest any nonsense.
I really want to commend Nigerians who are gradually getting to understand that government business must move forward and that issue of strike and down-tool actions are antithetical to the growth and development of this country. Whether you like it or not, when you continue to strike, so much money is being denied to accrue to the federal purse, the state purse, and the local government purse. The point must be made that Mr. President has got some very solid guys around him. The National Security Advisor is doing so much. The Minister for Information is doing so much. At least this government is communicating with professionals who understand the issues. They are engaging robustly with the issues and talking to different unions and explaining to them what government intends to do. But when you say you are going into strike, and the reason for going into strike during the military is because they are not ready to listen to you. But this president is a listening president. He's engaging, he's interactive, he likes the resource of dialogue. And so why would you want to go on strike? Just to cause further frictions, in the politics. So I want to commend people like the information minister, the NSA, and all of that.
We're done with electioneering.
I want to really commend them for being able to talk to some of these affiliate unions and such that at least NLC will gradually see that they are losing their steam for the wrong reasons because they are not factoring in the interests of Nigerians and the interests of the country at heart.
We're going to have to
decisions. They must look at the bigger issue. They must be patriotic and ensure that they are part of the development of the country and not trying to pull down the government because they don't like the face of the man behind the dress.
Thank you very much, Prince Kassim Afegbua, APC chieftain, policy analyst. Thank you very much for making your time, make your time available for us this morning. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. That's our program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm your line. Bye-bye for now.
Following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Today, there are many complex, boring, expensive, and useless exercise machines in the market. Or you pay over 400,000 naira a year for gym membership and never go. ShopX TV is proud to introduce Total Crunch Evolution, the compact, versatile fitness solution that is perfect for you. With Total Crunch, you get a complete fitness workout in one machine. Say goodbye to ineffective and complicated exercise machines. Now, you have the power to transform your fitness journey and get the body you have always wanted right in the comfort of your own home. Total Crunch is the efficient and effective way to build muscle, tone and tighten your legs, shape your back and pectorals, while strengthening your core and defining your abs. Now that's totally effective to get the body you want. With Total Crunch, your whole body works out at the same time. Only Total Crunch can put your whole body in motion as you burn calories and lose weight. Just